And so it would finish 1-1. There was some boos at the final whistle at Old Trafford. A missed opportunity for United to go fifth in the table, level on points with Chelsea. As it stands, they are 8th on 22 points right now. As we now welcome in former Manchester United player Phil Jones to the show. Great to have you with us as well, Phil. Let's just start with today's game. Do you feel that that's another missed opportunity for Manchester United?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Seems to be the same old story, one step forward, two steps back. I think the game against Everton was very lacklustre, lack of urgency, lack of intent, even down to 10 men, Everton. And then they go and get a good result against Palace. And I think even in the first half against Crystal Palace, they should have been, or could have been 3 or 4-0 down. They were quite lucky. But they got the win, they got the 3 points, and you're hoping that they can build on that again, back at Old Trafford under the lights again. And just didn't quite happen tonight again. I thought for 30 minutes, 35 minutes again was real lack of urgency from United. Didn't move the ball quick enough. West Ham were solid, compact, and there's one thing when you are in a low block, you have to offer a threat on the counter-attack, and I thought they did that really well in the first half. I
mean, Phil's right, they should have been behind at Palace. They were not, and they dug that one out. I mean, how Xerxes scored from the angle he did, Henderson should never have allowed it. They had the Everton game. They had this one where had they won, they'd have been gone fifth, and we would have sat here and had some harebrained conversation, absolute stupidity about, they're fifth. What does that mean? Level with Chelsea? Are they? No, they're not as good as Chelsea. They're not as good as the bulk of the teams up there. You can't be 1-0 up at home against one of the worst teams in the Premier League and be dominated for the last 20-25 minutes. You can't have that. I'm sorry, but you should be good enough to push on and at the very least, push West Ham back, and they're the side that are hanging on. Not Man United. Not Man United clearing balls off the line, and he brings on Lisandro Martinez with 3 minutes to go, a centre-half. I know he hasn't got much on the bench, but does he not want to go and win the game? Kobe Mino's on the bench. Just strange for me that United are not a very good side. They have a manager at the moment who I think he's a bit like, I said this the other day, he's a bit like Ten Hag in a sense where he'll get enough results at the moment just to keep people away. Just to make sure the questions are not too incisive about his job. But in terms of a match and how they played and how they allowed West Ham back into it, a really poor West Ham side. Yeah. It's quite frankly, it's just not good enough. But it's not a surprise. We've seen it a lot from Man United. We've seen that lack of urgency. We see it when other teams put them under a bit of pressure, they start to panic. And in the end, West Ham may have gone on and won the game. And as I said, this is a side that even Liverpool, who have struggled to get a result against most teams, Liverpool comfortably beat them on their own patch. And I just felt as the second half wore on, it was not a very good performance from Manchester United.
I think that's the thing. It's hard to overstate how poor West Ham are, in truth, especially if you are a team top half of the table or have aspirations of being top half, let alone top 6, coming to your patch. And now, I guess in boxing terms, there's a glass jaw to this United side because, let's be honest, up until the West Ham goal, there was only ever one winner in this. As a matter of fact, probably 30 seconds before West Ham scored, Casey turns to me and asks about, can you see West Ham coming back into this? And my answer was absolutely not. And that's me with my West Ham glasses on. Absolutely not. Then all of a sudden, West Ham get the goal, make what you want to the set piece. Again, how Bowen gets so free, why does Bruno Fernandes get sucked so close into the ball and the ball beat him so comfortably. But from then on in, the response came from West Ham in terms of the bulk of possession and the threat to goal. And United just did not seem to have it in them to go on and push on and win this game. And again, they're on their own patch against a team that I feel will be in a relegation battle throughout the rest of the season. There is nothing about this West Ham that's encouraging, yet you come to Old Trafford, pick up a point. I mean, that, again, in terms of United's own aspirations, is disappointingly poor.
Yeah, Phil, what's your diagnosis of Manchester United? They should be winning games like this against teams that aren't doing well, like West Ham, particularly Old Trafford with the fans behind them.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's for me, it's more of the the way they start games, especially at Old Trafford, has been poor. It's been staggered. I remember everyone knows the Old Trafford when the balls are coming in the box and they're sustaining attacks, and it's relentless, it's ruthless, and we're just not seeing that at the minute. We're seeing very few chances or clear-cut chances created, especially in the final third. And teams feel confidence from that, build confidence from that. West Ham did it today. I thought, like you guys said, for as poor as West Ham have been and have been this season, when you're down there, when you're struggling, what you've got to do is fight for every ball, every duel. And I thought they did that really, really well tonight. Yes, you've got to create your own luck and get a bit lucky at times, which they did. But, as you said, even Bowen, once they got it back to 1-1, they had a little chance where it got flashed across the box, and anyone running onto that could have easily finished 2-1 to West Ham.
Are the players not good enough, Phil, or does it come down to the coach?
Look, there's always going to be a question mark over the manager. You're the manager of Man United. There's always going to be question marks. There's always going to be hype around Man United. I always say it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's under pressure. On Man United, manager will always be under pressure. Of course, they'll always be looking for more quality in the team. You look at the likes of Mbuemo who's come in, Sesko who's come in, Cunha's. I think Cunha's a terrific signing, and Mbuemo as well. But obviously, you're going to miss Mbuemo, Amad Diallo, and
Mazraoui,
another player to the AFCON. So then there's going to be 3 voids they've got to fill there. So there's going to be a lot of question marks over, personnel in the team. Does he move Bruno Fernandes one higher when Mbuemo goes to the AFCON and plays him as a 10? Does Kobbie come into the 6, who he's not fancied at the minute? I thought they bitterly missed Matthijs de Ligt tonight. I thought his leadership skills over the last few games have been vital in certain moments of the game. So, yeah, there's question marks all over the pitch, but that's the beauty of being at Manchester United.
What's the minimum he needs to achieve, Amorim, to stay at United, do you think?
Look, I think they've got to try and get Europa League football again, and as tough as that's going to be and as difficult as that's going to be, looking by the results and maybe the performances of late at the minute, I think anything less than any Europa League action next season is going to be very difficult. You'd like to think with not being in the Europa League this year, you could have had a sustained run in the cup as well, albeit they got knocked out to Grimsby. So it's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. If they beat Everton and then you go to Crystal Palace and beat them like they did, and then you play tonight and you win that one, all of a sudden you're looking up, you're thinking, well, there's 3 wins on the bounce. There's a bit more sustainability, a bit more oomph about the team, heading in the right direction. But it's just, like I said, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And it's a difficult time at Man United at the minute.
Anybody that draws against West Ham at home at the moment is disappointed with the result. There's no getting away with it. I forgot about the Grimsby game. I forgot about that Grimsby game. That was another sort of debate.
They'd like to.
Yeah, and that just add that to the list. And look, when they don't have European football to worry about during the week, that's an extra. And one of the things Amorim has bemoaned as one of the excuses is time to work with his players. But he's getting more time this season to work with his players than most other managers or he's had before. So when the results don't come, your excuses kind of dry up and start falling on deaf ears. Look, I don't know what he has to achieve this year to keep the Wolves from the door, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out, 3 months ago, whatever it was, 2 months ago, and said, we're going to give this guy 3 years, ridiculous statement. But that was made by one of the big investors at the football club, 1.25 billion or whatever Ineos have injected into the club, allegedly, in terms of, buying shares and buying players. But I don't know what the end game is for the manager in terms of what the board see as good enough to be sitting down at a board meeting and saying, this is what we've achieved this year, this is how we're moving in the right direction, and this is the way forward. At the moment, it is very stale, very stagnant, very stale, very much the same most weeks. Every now and again, they have the odd one where they're a bit better, and then they fall back into this sort of mire of mediocrity, which we saw today in the second half. And, Phil's played at Man United, Shaq and I have played against Man United, the teams with the Keanes and all those boys in the 90s and the late 90s. The standards United are setting at the moment are just unacceptable. They're just unacceptable for most elite football clubs. And the manager's going to have to start getting better results. That, at the end of the day, this is all going to boil down to results. And the results, we saw a graphic there, the results he's had from just over 1 year in charge are not good enough and they're not sustainable. So he's going to be under pressure over the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 months to make sure these results improve, where he can go to Ratcliffe and Barada and Wilcox and others and say, look, we're progressing, this is what we're doing, and we're getting better. If it continues the way it is, he can't go with an argument to say they're moving forward, because at the moment, to me, they are stagnating.
But here's the counter to that. Kind of given the Ten Hag situation and how they manage that, it's an easy sell, apparently, to this ownership group that have done enough, given the fact that they extended Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup, and we all know how that played out. And then again, if you, at the start of this season, you said what was the minimum for Manchester United, you would say that they have to get into the top 6, have to get into the Europa League and threaten the top 4. And now, while we're talking about, a United on the back of this poor result, I have a feeling that the top 2, maybe the top 3, will distance themselves from the rest of the pack pretty soon. And after that, everything, they're going to be rather congested. And that will, again, provide an argument for Ruben Amorim as to how good they were or how they've improved. Now, to that point, as critical as we have been of Manchester United today, had they beaten 10-man Everton, as they should have, given how long United play with 10 men, had they beaten West Ham at home, as they should have, given how poor West Ham are, all of a sudden we're talking about Manchester United joined third with Villa. And that's how thin these margins are outside of, what I expect to be top 2, top 3. And that may give Amorim enough of an excuse that even if they don't get into Europa League, they miss out by a point, maybe 2. And all of a sudden, again, kind of given the ownership group and Sir Jim Radcliffe and how soft they've been on previous managers, maybe that argument again washes, which in truth it should.
If those results had gone their way, that would have been smoke and mirrors. You know, Villa have won something like 8 in the trot, or something like that, and they got a really good manager. I mean, they got a good squad. Haven't got the best squad, but they got a really good manager. They got a top manager in Unai Emery, right? He's flexible. He has a clear plan. Players know what. If you don't do what Unai Emery wants, then you're not in the team. If United finish 7th or 8th, or wherever it is around there, not many people are going to bat an eyelid. I mean, maybe the board will, but I'm just saying from the perspective of people who understand the game, if they were to finish around that 7th or 8th position, or we'd sit here and say, yeah, I can see that. I can see that, because that's kind of where they are. But my point is, that's not good enough for a club that size and a club that has spent that amount of money and a manager who's been brought in to improve the team. When we talk about improving a team, you talk about Unai Emery at Aston Villa. You talk about, although they had a bad result at Leeds, Enzo Maresca has certainly taken this Chelsea side to another level. Whatever level that's going to be at the end of it remains to be seen. But the way they played against Arsenal, they've shown they can play better football. And there are several managers like that within the league. Ruben Amorim is yet to show, if we're being honest about it, he is yet to show that he's got the ability to take United to another level, the level that they need to be back in amongst the elite. And so that, for me, piles a lot of the pressure onto the manager.
Do you think he is the right man to take United forward, Phil?
Look, results will determine that. As you said just then, it's a results business game. It's a ruthless game. You look at Liverpool at the minute; they're on a really poor, sticky run, and all of a sudden there's shouts and claims that Arne Slot should get the sack after winning the Premier League last year. So, look, results will be determined by that. I think the board have made it clear that they're sticking by him, that he's the right man to take the club forward. They like where they're going. But yeah, results have to change for sure. It's not been good enough. I mean, remember when I was playing that, post for Sir Alex Ferguson era, we were saying under David Moyes that, after post-match interviews, it was always, we're in transition. We're a transition team right now. We need to regain a little bit of stability back in the club. And it seems to be, spiraling 10 years down the line. We're still in transition. So they need to try and get away from that stigma and try and figure it out. But it's difficult at the minute. It's really difficult, the club. You know, results are hard to come by. Every game you're thinking, can they, can't they? You win one game or you lose one game, you're looking over your shoulder thinking West Ham's a difficult game when it shouldn't be a difficult game. It's tough. It's tough at the minute.
But that's the interesting thing as well with Phil, because he's obviously been there when Sir Alex was there and afterwards.
I was just going to ask Phil, we've all, you know, Shaq and myself and Phil played the game, right? Have you ever worked with, Phil, or seen a manager who has been less flexible in his system or less flexible in making changes and very stubborn in the way he plays? I would imagine most managers you played under had at least a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about managers. Maybe I would say Louis van Gaal was very rigid, very his way or no way. But he did have the ability to change, and what we did before games, and you know, the day before a game, I remember doing 11v11. It was always about the players and how they felt in the system. And you know, if the centre half stepped in, how did he feel about stepping in? Did you feel vulnerable? Did you feel like you could go and get there? It was always a collective, collaborative decision with the players, and I think the players embraced that. Not sure how much the players have an influence in that today. But yeah, certainly he's very, very rigid. He's not going to change for no one. That's what he's been brought in to do. So I guess he's looking at it from, well, why would I change? That's what I got brought in to do. That's the system I got brought into play. So I'll try and get the players to see. I mean, I think I said it a few weeks ago. I look at the system they're playing. They've got, if you run through the team quickly, you've got Luke Shaw playing left of a back three when his first position is probably left back. You've got Diogo Dalot at times playing left wing back when he's probably a right back. You've got Bruno Fernandes playing as a 6 when his best position probably is a 10. You've got Amad Diallo playing right wing when he's probably a 7 or 11 in most teams. So yes, he's trying to get the best out of players, but maybe playing these players in probably the second or third best suited position.
So just to go back to the fact,
Must be a Dutch thing with the
maybe a Dutch thing
with the stubbornness, because I played under Wim Jansen at Celtic and we lost the first 2 games of the season, and we had this big meeting and we all told him what way we wanted to play, and he listened to everybody, and then he told us how we were going to play. Anyway, but you know, to that point, this is one of the things that surprised me, and I brought this up 2 or 3 months ago or at the start of the season. Phil mentioned Bruno Fernandes' position. When you go out and buy Mbeumo, Sesko and Cunha, certainly Mbeumo and Cunha, who can play a little bit behind and off a striker, and particularly Matheus Cunha, who is a good player, but you have Bruno Fernandes, and I feel that I'm going over the coals here with this one and repeating myself. But when you have a player with Bruno Fernandes' ability in the final third to score great goals, to produce great assists, to produce great crosses and passes, why in God's name are you going and spending the money on players of a similar ilk and then having to push Bruno Fernandes back into a deeper position beside 2 guys, well, one in Agati that's not good enough and another one in Casemiro who's just been one of the best in the business but can't really do it anymore to the level that he was once doing it? Why would you push Bruno Fernandes back there and spend that money rather than spending it in that position and keeping Bruno Fernandes further forward? Now, I hear people out there, people who just look at a bit of paper. Bruno Fernandes got the most stats, got the most assists. Bruno Fernandes got the most this. They'll give you an assist stat for anything these days. You only got to look at the ball and give you an assist stat. Right, Bruno Fernandes, it's not even up for debate. He would be much better for Manchester United floating in and around that front line, where he can get the ball in those little spaces and get tongue, poke those little balls through, those little delicate balls and clip balls in behind. So it just doesn't make sense from that perspective. So there are players playing out of position. But Ruben Amorim was there in the summer. He had to have been part of those conversations with Wilcox and Barada and others about the type of player that they wanted to bring in. And when you have your skipper playing in a position where he's less effective than he would be if he was 20 yards further up the field, then that's counterproductive to what you want to do.
And when we do go back, though, just to end it here with Phil, and obviously the fact and the point that you did play under Sir Alex Ferguson, he brought you in at Manchester United, you know the distinct before and after. You talked about those early years, it being a transition. So obviously a lot of time's passed since then. How do you explain what's happened to Manchester United since Sir Alex left?
Very difficult again. I mean, we talk about decisions and behind the scenes and on the pitch and players that have been brought in and externally people who've been brought in. I think sometimes in that moment you feel like it's only a little thing, it's only a little decision, it won't make a big difference. But over time, over years, they accumulate into this big scene, this big scenario that's happening at United, and I think we are now seeing maybe the decisions that they probably didn't get right over the last 6 or 7 years. Maybe we're seeing that now, which is why I have some sympathy for the manager. He's only a young coach. He's been brought in from Sporting Lisbon, where he was terrific there as a young manager, won a lot of things. Played a way that and style that he wanted to play, but coming to Man United is a different kettle of fish, and maybe we are seeing the decisions that we didn't get right in the last 6 or 7 years come to the forefront right now. But now we have to make big decisions and get it right, and people have to take ownership of that and make a decision and say, yeah, if it didn't go well, if it's not the right one in a year's, 2 years' time, then I'll hold my hand up and it's my fault. But yeah, it's been an accumulative over 5 or 6 years.
You don't understand. I think people don't understand the influence and the ability to turn the club round, like Sir Alex turned United around. Wenger did it at Arsenal, but maybe this conveyor belt of success that was going to continue was maybe a little pie in the sky. Because why did Sir Alex go to Man United? Because they were a struggling club. They had their success in the 60s or whenever it was, but they'd struggled for many a year. Yeah, there was the odd cup competition, but they were not dominating English football. And Fergie comes in, it took him, what did it take him, 8 years, something like that, from 86. Came close a couple of times apparently to losing his job. It was backed by the board, and then him and David Gill had a great relationship, signed great players. United was successful. They turned over 2 or 3 teams. They had a great academy, which was around about the same time I was playing, when Beckham came through and Neville came through and Scholes and Butt and Giggs. The chances of that happening again are very slim to have that kind of quality of youngster coming through all at the same time. So the fact that he was able to do what he did for 20 to 25 years, I think shows you how difficult it was before for that club to sustain itself as one of the best teams in England. And since he's left, it has shown how difficult it is for this club, no matter what they've spent, to sustain themselves as one of the best teams in England. So it's a very difficult task indeed.
Yes, so that's Manchester United. And while we've got Phil Jones, we should probably talk about England with the World Cup draw coming up tomorrow. Obviously, from each of these pots, England can get a club from each of them in the draw. And pot 2 is obviously the strongest after pot 1, with the likes of Croatia, Morocco, Colombia, Uruguay. Even in pot 3, you're seeing Norway in there, Croatia, Scotland. Don't worry, I was getting to it.
I'll tell you what, England would take Scotland now, wouldn't
they? Who don't you want to face, Phil, as an England man?
If I'm wrong, but I think the format for the World Cup is that none of the top teams can play each other till the quarters or the semis, I think it is.
Semis.
I think that's got to be, as an Englishman, that's got to be the biggest worry for me, the fact that I don't think we will play a top 10 team now till hopefully we get to the semi-finals, since we got beat to Spain in the final. We've gone on a great run. I think Thomas Tuchel's come in and done a wonderful job. He's got so many talented players to pick from and choose from in different systems, and tactically I think he's very, very astute. Certainly if we get to those positions, the semi-finals, the finals, I think he's a terrific manager to make those quick in-game decisions that need to be done, especially in big tournaments like the World Cup. But we've had many good teams going into tournaments like this over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and it's not quite worked out. So look, I think we're in a good place, but I think the big worry for me would be not playing a top 10 team up until we get to the semi-finals.
But Phil, you've just mentioned Thomas Tuchel and the work that he's done with the team, obviously on the pitch. You played under Southgate, and we saw very much so the work that he did with the team off the pitch and the team unity and everything, bringing that team together. Do you think Tuchel's handling the England team right himself in this manner?
Yes, I do. I think that's continued from post Gareth Southgate. What I would say is when I first joined the senior team, it's well documented that it was very divided. I don't think it was quite as bad as what was documented, but it wasn't great. You used to walk down for breakfast and dinner, and you did have your Liverpool tables, your United tables, your Chelsea tables, and that's just how it was. We didn't really know any different until Gareth Southgate came in, really galvanised the squad, turned that around, and I think the success that England have had over the last 4 or 5 years has stemmed from Gareth coming in and the work that he's done with the players, personally, collectively, and I think he deserves a huge credit for that. But I think Thomas Tuchel, like I said earlier, that if we do get to the semi-finals and finals and these big decisions in the game where tactically you might have to change something or tweak something, or you've got to be ready to make that change. I think he's definitely the man to do that. His know-how, his experience, his understanding of the game in those big games can only bode well for England.
Yeah, Phil, obviously you're back in England, so you'll have seen some of those media reports of the situation with Jude Bellingham, and one journalist in particular calling for Jude Bellingham to not be called up and to not go to the World Cup next summer. What do you think of reports like that?
Look, Jude Bellingham is a world class player. There's no denying that and getting away from that. But you have Jude Bellingham, you have Cole Palmer, you have Phil Foden, you have Morgan Rogers, and I've got to say, if I'm being totally honest now, and you're asking me who's the player to start in the 10 position over the games that I've seen recently in form, I would go Morgan Rogers. I think he's been exceptional. I love the way he carries the ball. He's big, he's strong. He's like the old Moussa Dembele who played for Tottenham, but he picks up positions on the pitch. He gets turned. He arrives in the box at a good time. He scores goals. He's a presence. But you also have Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, and obviously Bellingham you touched on. So it's difficult. But one thing he won't do, and I think he's proven that in the last few games and the few camps that we've seen, he's not just going to put them all on the team just for the sake of putting your best players on the pitch. It won't work like that under him. And that's the big thing that I really like from him that I've seen so far.
All right, go on.
I was going to say, I don't know why people get their knickers in a twist with this Jude Bellingham. It's not a report. It was an opinion piece. It's an opinion. Now, I don't agree with that opinion, and other people can agree.
And that was, but then there have been other reports that he's not a team player, that he's not doing his fair share of the media duties. They're the reports that obviously have been coming out.
All I'm saying is that particular journalist wrote an opinion piece. That was his opinion. Most people would disagree with it. I do agree with Phil that he's not. I think he will play Jude Bellingham as long as his Real Madrid form is good and he's fit. I think he will, but I don't think he's placing the team as like 100%. I think if he falls off, if his levels drop a little bit, there are other players like Morgan Rogers that could come in, or Eze from Arsenal, or Phil Foden, or whoever it is. There's a plethora of players that could come in for England. But that piece that was written was an opinion piece, and correct me if I'm wrong, but people are entitled to their opinion, and people are entitled to disagree with that. And we're going to find out about Thomas Tuchel when we get to the World Cup, with big decisions, with tactical changes, particularly when they get to the nitty-gritty, the quarters and the semis, and the elite teams are there. But spare me, please spare me this magnificent job that Thomas Tuchel has done thus far, because the England always smash teams in their group. Who was it they played? Albania? Who else? Was it Latvia? Finland? Greece? Who the hell did they play? I can't remember who they played. I expect England to take these teams apart. And they did. And generally England do that. England qualify for major tournaments with aplomb, normally very easily. Where they have fallen, obviously since '66, when they won the World Cup, controversially it has to be said, where they have fallen flat is at these big moments, whether it be a penalty kick shootout like it was in 1990 or the Euros in '96, or whether it was a World Cup, a semi-final against Croatia, when it was clear Gareth Southgate had to make some big tactical changes to that, particularly to the midfield, because Croatia were overrunning them in the middle of the park, and he did not do that, and they lost. Whether Thomas Tuchel, and he should be because he's more experienced, he should be the man that when it's going wrong, if it's going wrong for England, can make those changes to affect the game. But we will not know that until whenever it is, the start of July, when it gets to the nitty-gritty of this World Cup. And then we're going to find out if Thomas Tuchel is the man to take England to the next level.
Well, before we do let you go, Phil, and seeing as though we are on that topic, is this the year for England? Can they go on and win the World Cup?
Yeah, well,
that's the biggest question. Do you know what? I'm always going to back them. I say it every year, but hopefully this is the year they can finally get over the line.
Lovely. It's coming
It's not
home.
the
What's the success for Scotland?
Is that where it's going?
He's got a question for you.
What?
Go on, Phil. What's
What's
success for Scotland?
What's a successful tournament for Scotland?
Turning up. Staying sober. Not disgracing yourself.
I love the little chuckle from Phil when he started talking about the controversial World Cup win, spoken like a true Scotsman. Phil, it's been great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, hopefully he's right about England in 2026.
Thank you. Take care.
So Saturday brings us MLS Cup, and it is Inter Miami taking on the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's a big game, both going for their first ever MLS trophy. Here's Lionel Messi talking about it.
Gracias por la onda y el respeto siempre. ¿Otra vez una final?
Sí, la verdad que sí, que feliz, ¿no? Porque es especial también jugar una final en este club. Si bien ya ganamos un título, jugamos otra final hace poquito del club de nuevo, por decirlo de alguna manera, y ya poder jugar una final de la MLS con todo eso lo que significa para el club es espectacular, así que contento.
Te trajimos un par de perlas para que veas. ¿Esto no cambió? Los jueguitos de la pelota.
Sí, ahora lo hago con mi hijo. Competimos con ellos.
¿Le ganás?
Sí,
¿Les jugás en serio?
Sí, siempre. A todo.
Muy bien.
La verdad que no soy de hacer jueguitos, de hacer todas esas cosas que se hacen,
Sí.
pero la pelota siempre me llama. Me gusta jugar en cualquier lado, donde sea y con quien sea.
Ese chico que hacía jueguitos ahí en el patio de la casa no imaginó todo
No.
lo que llegó.
No,
Ni cerca, ¿no?
No. Yo siempre digo, mi sueño de chico era jugar en la primera de Newell. Yo iba a la cancha, jugaba en Newell y yo soñaba con ser profesional en Newell, jugar en primera, jugar en la primera división. Y bueno, pues mi vida cambió totalmente, porque me fui con 13 años y debuté en el Barcelona, y todo lo que me pasó jamás lo hubiera soñado, ni en mis mejores sueños, ¿no? Realmente viví cosas mucho más grandes de lo que me hubiese podido llegar a imaginar, y fue una locura.
¿Cómo eras cuando eras chiquito? ¿Eras cabrón, no? ¿Para jugar, no?
Sí.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Ahora te veo cabrón, ahora te veo...
No, la verdad que siempre fui así.
¿Sí?
Siempre, sí. Pero bueno, uno cuando entra dentro de la cancha, siempre lo dije, siempre mi personalidad cambiaba y pasaba a cambiar totalmente. Yo era tímido, introvertido, y adentro me transformaba. Gritaba, peleaba, pedía la pelota, quería ganar, quería hacer goles, quería hacer todo bien. Y hasta el día de hoy me pasa.
Te vi,
Sí.
te vi, estás picante, ¿eh?
Y es parte del juego también, ¿no? Y para mí todo lo que pase dentro de lo que cabe es válido, y después queda ahí.
Se viene el 2026, hay un mundial, ni más ni menos. Hace un rato me escribió un amigo y me decía, mirá, estoy para sacar los pasajes, pero preguntale a Messi si juega. ¿Qué le digo? ¿Le digo que le dé para adelante?
Este año la verdad que me sentí muy bien, tuve la suerte de jugar muchísimos partidos, y por ahí se habla de la liga, y la liga es una liga muy física, donde los rivales crecieron muchísimo, muchos viajes largos, partidos que se rompen mucho de ida y vuelta, y yo la verdad que me sentí bien y lo disfruté, y ojalá el principio del año que viene sea de esta manera también.
¿Se puede repetir lo de Qatar?
El mundial es muy difícil, cualquier selección te puede complicar, te puede dejar afuera, puede pegar en el palo y salir, pegar en el palo y te entra, o quedaste eliminado, o perdés unos penales, que nosotros en la última tuvimos la suerte de si bien en el partido fuimos muy superiores, tanto en Holanda como Francia terminamos yendo a los penales, y después tuvimos la bestia del Dibu que nos hizo ganar, pero no tengo duda que como veo el grupo va a pelear seguro.
¿Lo vas a ver por la tele? No.
Ojalá pueda estar, yo lo dije, me encantaría estar y...
No te veo viéndolo por tele. Yo te conozco hace 20 años, no te veo viéndolo por televisión.
No, de última estaré ahí viéndolo en vivo.
Lovely stuff. Well, time's going to tell. Casey Keller joining us now, and that interview
That's some
is with...
segue, isn't it? There's
Bob
Messi.
said-
There's Casey.
Hang on, Messi just said that a goalkeeper won it for Argentina. We'll get to that in just a moment. I do want to go back to MLS Cup, though, a game that we will be seeing Lionel Messi in for sure. How can Vancouver Whitecaps upset the old apple cart here?
Well, I mean, I think Vancouver's had a very good season. I think they've full of confidence. Obviously, Mueller coming in gave them that little X factor that they hadn't had before. So yeah, I think they have a chance. Granted, having to fly 6,000 miles across the country isn't going to help a whole lot, and that's going to give a big advantage to Miami. But and it's obviously the MLS has wanted Miami in this final since Messi got there, and they wanted to keep advertising that and to continue to push that more than just here he is. Can he be here and win titles? And this gives him a great opportunity to do that at home.
Have they made changes? They seem to be making changes to who can play who can't play against each other. Am I right in saying
I
that?
was going to ask you to explain that on the draw tomorrow.
No, I think how it works is there can be 2 European teams in a group, but there can't be any 2 teams from the same region other than Europe.
Okay.
I don't like that draw. No, I don't like that one. LA, no.
But then there's part of it, Shaka, that you think they're at home. You kind of want those. Obviously, the US fans might not want, but it would be nice to see them against some big teams, given that they're the host nation.
No, it's not. No, not from a US perspective. No, I mean if you're
They just want it as easy as possible.
absolutely, and rightly so. I think everybody's the same in that regard. I mean, in theory, it's great to pull the Spains and France, and if you could have all of them in that one group, and great. But from a player perspective, and certainly in terms of going far in the competition perspective, you want those early games to be as easy as possible. If you go deep in the competition, you have no choice but to meet some of those bigger nations. But early on, I'm saying you try and avoid those as best you can.
See, I'm sort of the opposite mindset to that.
You want to meet
Yeah,
the bigger-
I was lucky enough. Europe played in Euro 96 and France 90. Euro 96, we had Holland, England, which was a marquee game because the tournament was in England, and it was Scotland-England, and we had Switzerland in the last game, who were a good side. And France 98, we got Brazil. We were lucky enough to open the tournament, the opening ceremony, and I just feel that as a player, sometimes you're lucky to go to 2 or 3 World Cups, maybe more. Sometimes you might not see a World Cup, it might be one. And I always feel that you want the marquee games. If you're at a World Cup, you're on the biggest stage, and you want to be on the biggest stage with the biggest players.
Right.
And that's your test. You know, and when we got Brazil, yeah, you're worried about it, and you're nervous because that was the Brazil with Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos and Rivaldo. But that's the test of a World Cup, rather than if I'm going to go out a World Cup, if the US are going to get knocked out or Scotland were going to get knocked out as we did, I don't want to go out against Iran and Austria.
See, Craig, I want to kind of split the difference. I want to say, okay, maybe there's a marquee team in your group.
Yes.
And then some teams that you can beat and get results against, so you still have a chance of going through.
Well,
so if you can do a combo
if you
of the two.
beat a Croatia or a Morocco, imagine the confidence boost that would give the US.
Yeah, and imagine losing by 4, and what happens then when you have to play 2 teams that you're supposed to beat.
That's the thing. You have a marquee team, great on paper, but you finish second in the group. All of a sudden, that run in from there and gets a whole lot more difficult. Now, I've said, I think for the US to have a good World Cup, you get to the quarterfinals. If you get to the semi-final, that's outstanding. But you finish second in your group to a marquee team. I think you open yourself for a whole lot of criticism. Or to Craig's point, you draw a Brazil, a Norway, and a Uruguay in that group. It does not matter to the public that we can say, listen, that was the group of death, and we're out in the group stage. That will not wash. That will not cover anything for Pochettino in terms of a failure to progress.
But I still think there has to be a realization, though. I mean, are you right now saying the U.S. is the 8th best, is an top 8 team in the world? So they should be in a quarterfinal because they're a top 8 team in the world.
I'm just saying.
Well, but I'm just saying, I still think there's a point where
if there's an expectation of this US team, we were talking about
getting
this,
better.
They've been a lot better in the last 4 games, something like that.
Something like that.
But even at that, if there's an expectation that they're going to go to the semi-final, then people have been getting fed the wrong fish.
I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with
you. But if you do, I agree with you. I think if you can get a marquee team in your group and then other teams that are kind of similar level, then I think you're going to give yourself a chance. But if you're coming into a tournament and you're worried about who you're going to get because and you're hoping that you get the weakest teams, that's telling me that you've got a mindset that you don't think you're good enough in the first place.
Well, let's go back to the last World Cup. And you look at it in Qatar, and you look at the U.S.'s draw, and you look at England, Wales, and Iran. I say the U.S., yeah, should probably get out of that group. You'd probably get some results against Wales, against Iran to get yourself through. Okay, you scrap a 0-0 draw against England, great. Then you come up against the Dutch in round 2. Do you say the U.S. should beat the Dutch in a knockout stage?
I don't, but the U.S. are criticized for not advancing any further.
Right. But that's yeah.
Well, by the U.S. soccer supporters.
I'm saying could the U.S. have beaten that Dutch side? Well, yeah, on the day, maybe if things go the right way, okay. But I wouldn't look at it necessarily and say, yes, you should beat that team. And so I think that's now because of the way results went in Korea, we had if results had gone a little bit different, we would have played Italy in the knockout rounds. Instead, because of the way results went, we played Mexico. And we'd been having a ton of success against Mexico at that stage. So we beat Mexico and got to a quarterfinal. So I still look at it from a perspective of who were we matched up against? And could we or should we? And when I look at Wales and I look at Iran, I say, yes, we should. When I go to, let's go back to Brazil. You're playing Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal. You're playing Germany, the next winners, and a Ghana team that's given you a lot of trouble. So I look at that and I say, should you? No, but they did. And then they played against a very good Belgian side, which you're going to say took it to extra time, had opportunities late in the match to maybe steal it, but I'm still not looking at that going, yes, you should beat a very talented Belgian side to get to a quarterfinal.
A player's perspective is not everybody, because clearly Xhaka wants the easy.
Yeah, I do.
Easy route. You want to step in the big stage, and I think you want to play against the elites if you can. But we know who doesn't want that. The managers.
Yeah.
They don't, because their backside is on the line. It's on fire. They're the ones that the buck's going to stop with them. So they're looking at this draw. What day is it? Tomorrow?
Yeah.
They're looking at this draw tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. And it's going to be a long, drawn-out affair.
Very excited about that too.
And that's just us. And those managers are looking and going, just give me something to work with. They don't want Argentina and Spain and France and all these teams, maybe even Brazil, although they're not the best. They don't want them. But I think as a player, you're at a World Cup. You don't want Trinidad and Tobago, do you, at the World Cup?
No, you'll be all right. Yeah, you'll be all right.
You want Brazil and Argentina.
You're not getting us, that's for sure. You're not getting us. But let me just say, right? So, US as host, you start with 48 teams and then you go down to 32. And I know, to correct, I don't think anybody's realistically saying at this point that the US should get to a semi-final. I'm saying I think they should, or the expectation is at least a quarterfinal. If you go from 48 to 32, and then you only win one more game from there on in as hosts, I guarantee the outcry against Pochettino will be deafening.
Well, that depends who they get.
I don't think so.
I agree with you, Greg. I think it depends on who they get.
Fine for us, but I think regardless of who they get, they win one more game outside of that group stage, the outcry will be deafening.
Did you say something about Scotland there?
Yeah, they might get
Derogatory?
No, I just said they might get Scotland. That's how you read it.
By any chance? Was it sort of a sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek?
Craig, I'm a
derogatory?
quarter Scottish. I'm a quarter Scottish.
Don't claim that now. I've got a Scottish
would I
friend,
say
you know. Oh, goodness.
got a Scottish
me.
terrier.
Oh,
Scottish
boy.
granddad.
Oh, man. Where'd that come
How many
from?
mums and dads have you got?
I played golf at St Andrews one time.
Sometimes they could get them.
Well, allow me to tell you, we're not accepting you. Get Stevie on the phone. Quarter Scottish. My backside. I think I can play for Trinidad. I'm a quarter Trinidad and Tobago.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Never heard that one before.
You never heard it? Where do you think my last name's from?
What?
Murray. Got a tartan and everything. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We have Craig Burley, Shaka Hislop and Casey Keller here in the studio.
I'm Italian.
Big day tomorrow.
I do some of these. That means I'm Italian.
One of these two.
Yeah.
One of these.
What's your Spanish signal? What's your Spanish signal?
Oh, what is your Spanish signal?
Well, you lived
Not
there.
really. I don't know if they had. They don't
Casey?
gesticulate.
Just
Oh, you know that too.
I don't think we can do
It's
it
more
on air.
words that they use, words that we
Yeah.
probably can't say.
Yeah.
That was probably best.
Quarter Italian,
Quarter Spanish.
But I would be eligible for an Italian passport.
quarter Spanish.
Some
Found
Scottish.
out
Some
5
Scottish
minutes
there.
ago you're a quarter Scottish.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's because
My granddad's from Ayrshire.
Kate's a good 6 quarters of something.
Yes.
She's got 6 quarters of different things.
is it Don quarters?
Exactly.
7 of them.
Yeah, there's some math there.
He
She's 6
played for them.
quarters.
Your granddad was from Ayrshire.
Yeah.
Do you know whereabouts?
I actually do have it written down somewhere, and I told Stevie once, but I'll find it for you. But I did. A lot of my family is still up in Scotland on my dad's side.
Stop trying to make a case of
No.
Craig.
I know.
He's not buying it.
I
He's
know.
not buying it.
No.
Okay.
Well, all that matters, England plays Scotland. What jersey you have on?
England.
You don't have a little quarter Scottish?
No.
You don't have a little quarter Scottish in your
But I
jersey?
don't want them to do badly unless they play England. That's all.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay. For Shaka, which former club of yours has had the most disappointing season so far? Newcastle or West Ham?
West Ham. West Ham are not a good team. That's just being blunt. I still think Newcastle have it in them to turn the season around. They've actually played better at times, I think, than their league position suggests. But that's an easy answer, West Ham.
If Liverpool decided to part ways with Arne Slot, which of these managers should they go for? Oliver Glasner, Unai Emery or Andoni Iraola?
I go Iraola. I'm torn between Emery and Iraola in all honesty, but I'm going to lean Iraola.
I feel like Craig's a big fan of the last two as well, Emery and Iraola.
Big fan. I'm not really a fan of anybody.
Except Extremadura, apparently.
Actually has nice things to say.
Oh no, I'll be honest, I don't like myself. So if I don't like myself, how can I like other people?
You've got good company.
Yeah, I know. So how can I like other people?
I hate everybody equally. Yes.
Oh, boy. Oh, God.
When people stop hating on me, life's over. Literally. So no, I do. Glasner they've all done amazing jobs. I mean, Bournemouth have had a couple of patchy results recently, but bear in mind they lost Zabanya to PSG amongst others. They lost Huysen to Real Madrid and Kerkez to Liverpool. There's 3, your back 4. So and probably one of the smallest clubs in England. So to still, at one point they were in the top 4. They've dropped down a bit since. There's no doubt he's an excellent manager. I just wonder with Unai Emery, will he get another, and I don't mean this disrespectful to Aston Villa, but will he be at another club like he was at Arsenal, he was at PSG? Would that be something that Liverpool would take into account? Whether he's had that opportunity, and maybe he is better suited to, where was it? Was it Sevilla?
Unai Emery.
Villarreal.
No, he was up there,
Villarreal.
but he started it.
Yeah, he started at Almeria.
Yeah, but he won.
But then
Did he not win
Sevilla.
the Europa League with
Yeah.
Sevilla? Then he was at Villarreal. Villa he took from, I think, second bottom.
Yeah.
that seems to be where he does his best work. You know,
He's had the opportunities at the big boys.
and I wonder if that would be against, if, of course, we get to the stage that Arne Slot is going to lose his job, which I think we're still, as bad as Liverpool are at the moment, I still think we're some ways away from that.
Okay.
We're a quarter away.
Yeah. Another quarter. Another grass. We 8 quarters now.
You're not taking it seriously, you guys. Scottish blood and roots. Casey, how do you think Wilfred Nancy will do at Celtic?
Well, I mean, it will be a little bit of a jump, obviously, from MLS. Is Celtic super dominant right now? No. So it's not like he's coming into a side that then it's just kind of really easy. You can kind of make mistakes and be able to. So there'll be an expectation very quickly of him to be able to figure out how they can then win the title. I mean, I think Hearts are starting to slip a little bit, Craig, do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I called the game with Donaldson yesterday, and he was half calling our game and half watching the Hearts match. So, and what kind of money do they have to be able to
Are you
strengthen?
suggesting that the commentator has been slightly unprofessional during the game? Hearts were 8 points clear, and that was one of the reasons that Brendan Rodgers lost his job. But there was other things that were behind the scenes political. But the task of Hearts keeping it up for the whole season, there's a better chance of Celtic coming through.
Correct.
What Wilfred Nancy is going to learn is a lot of new phrases in Glasgow. Hey, you by the way.
I think the best part is it'll take him about 2 years if he's there long enough to actually understand what's being said to him.
He'll go home to the family or whatever, or go in the dressing room and say, I think the Celtic fans were just complimenting me. No, they were not. Hey, you by the way, you better beat Rangers or you'll get the Malky. Bosh!
What's that?
A Malky.
See?
A Malky in Scotland.
If she was half Scottish, she'd know.
I thought you were 5 years. I thought you were 5 years Scottish.
Yeah.
Glasgow, which is a hardened city, and I played there for 2.5 years. The Malky is, they call it a Glasgow kiss.
Yep. Nice little headbutt.
This is not I don't condone this, but it's a headbutt. Bosh! Right in the head. Ooh, it hurts. Right? You see it on the football field. So they call that the Malky. You want the Malky. Now, they can up that. You can, if you're in a bar, they can offer you the severe Malky. I'll take it that's coming with a run-up. Bosh! That's got nose splattered all over the place. So he's going to,
Is there any?
That won't happen.
Is there any money there, like January, to strengthen the
Celtic
squad, or?
Celtic have money, but part of the ira of the lads, as you know, Celtic support, is the board won't spend the money. They spend enough to win the Scottish title,
Right.
but they won't spend to take them to another level. So you know,
Okay.
but they are still in better shape than every
Everybody
other
else.
team. So
Right,
yeah,
so,
he should have success there.
Ahead of the draw, what nations
He
would
can call me if he wants. 30 years ago, but
Ahead of the draw, what nations would you consider to be dark horses of the 2026 World Cup?
No.
Norway for sure.
Easy answer to that.
Yeah. The strike force between Holland and Sorloth is going to scare a lot of teams when they're in your group.
Okay.
Italy. Oh, they're not there yet.
Are we allowed to call Italy a dark horse?
Well, I had
To get there, maybe to get to the World Cup.
I had several discussions, shall we say, with your husband when he used to, when he worked here about Italy, which he got a little bit upset with. A wee bit upset. Well, he did, and I offered him the Malky.
You know, can a Morocco or somebody like that kind of replicate what they did in the last World Cup? I think like a team like Croatia, I don't think is what they were when they got to the final. So yeah, I mean, I think Norway is the clear and present team that.
Never ever underestimate Morocco.
Okay. Scotland, Craig?
Wise words to live by, Craig.
Because we did.
Yeah, there you go.
We thought they were gubbins. In 98. Turns out they were not.
No, they're still not. Okay, Casey and Shaka, what's the worst own goal you've ever conceded, whether by you or a teammate?
I only conceded one own goal in my whole career.
Really?
And it was.
Yeah, but are you, as a goalkeeper, are you conceding an own goal Or is
Well,
it?
yeah, I mean, if I throw it in my own net,
No,
which
but
is
that-
basically what I
No, I
did
think
in this
I
one
think
time.
the question is who scored
Who's-
the best own goal that you could do nothing about?
Probably the one I scored on myself. Sounders, little balls coming through, and a player's come from the other side. So I was afraid of how I was going to kind of put it in an area. So I thought, okay, I'll just hook it wide of the goal and then just defend the corner. And I hooked it a little too much and hooked it right
in?
into my own goal.
Oh, that's a doozy.
But what made it worse is somehow it got archived in a 50 Shades of Grey novel because something took place in Seattle and somebody was reading something to their father about the results, and it just happened to be reading the only own goal I had. So I had a bunch of people getting a hold of me
Starring in 50 Shades of Grey.
in like the third novel. So I'm getting all these comments from people saying,
Yep.
Only
"You're in the 50 Shades of Grey novel."
You get royalties.
But for you, it would have been 49 Shades.
It was
What you
it was a shade of grey of me
yep, I'm
throwing
sure
a
it
ball in
was.
my
You're
own
right.
net. Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey now, it's a book, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Film, but we
Yeah,
probably shouldn't go there.
All right, now.
Yeah.
I bet you.
I don't know anything about 50 Shades of Grey either. I don't know anything about that.
Now, have you got anything that took you onto some film star? You must have. I mean, you must have chucked at least 20 in your own net. I'm not having it if it's any less. I mean, you do it just for.
I've had enough of this.
I love that you were like, only one.
Right, no, hold on. Have you got any that got you in some sort of.
Compromising situations?
You didn't get any like.
No, I can't. Well, I can't remember conceding any own goals. I remember conceding one, but it was pre-season. It's actually my first game back after I broke my leg playing Exeter or something. Free kick off the post into my
On the back of the head,
Yeah,
back, whatever. Yeah.
and then and that I'm sure I have. I just can't remember any.
You probably have, haven't you?
I've not.
Craig, own goal?
Said he not appeared in any
Couple?
any shady books. Shades books.
Dan hates me talking about this. I scored in '94 twice at the Cup end
Oh.
at Liverpool.
Once for
Once for your team.
One for
Chelsea.
Once in the first half, at the back post, I was squeezed in between, I think it was Fowler and John Barnes. Dimitri Karim was in goal, the Russian, number one. And that ball came out and I tried to nogger it out for a corner.
Yep.
And I got a bit too much meat on the bar. Bosh, and I came in at half time and Dimitri, whose English got a bit better then, he said, was that you? he didn't know. And I went, yeah, and he started laughing. And then I scored at the other end.
Nice.
I'd rather talk about the volley I scored
Yeah.
from 25 yards.
Okay.
But no, yeah, I scored at Anfield. And,
Was that a done 25 yards?
There is television proof of a left foot volley past David James into the top corner at Anfield Cup end.
All right.
At which point you can see people in the Kop applauding.
There you go.
And what's more, it was from an actual Scot. All right.
I'll tell you one of the best ones. I'll tell you one of the best ones quickly. Glenn Hoddle had this idea. I think I've told this one on here, but Glenn had this idea that I was going to play sweeper in a game, right? Because we played a back three.
Okay.
So he said, you can pass the ball, you can go back there. What I'll do is I'll play you in the reserves on Monday at Kingstonian. We were playing a reserve game against somebody. He said, I'll play you for an hour in that at sweeper, just so you can get a feel for it. And Blackburn away, or whatever it was on the Saturday, you're playing sweeper. I said, yeah, all right. I'm thinking sweeper, not much running around. Happy days. Not like midfield. 10 minutes in, Jack, to this reserve game, somebody's played the ball down the left-hand channel. I've come across, sweeping up. This is easy. Played a back pass blind to Kevin Hitchcock, who was out stood by the and this ball rolled, I turned round, and it was just rolling into the back of the net. At that point, back into the middle of the park.
Was that because Glenn did it for Swindon when he kind of later in his career kind of dropped back?
He did, but then he couldn't even. he didn't have the legs for it then. So I got the experiment.
Yeah,
And it failed.
Kingstonian.
Never got out of the Kingstonian.
Okay, goalkeepers union, start bench.
What have I
drop.
done to my? Have I done something to my mic?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Craig broke it.
They can hear you, apparently.
That was my thing.
Iker, Courtois, Navas.
Oh boy.
Come on, shot.
Iker, Courtois, Navas. Love me some Keylor Navas. I'm gonna go.
Where's Iker? Casillas?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, why am I getting involved? Hurry
I'm
up.
gonna go. Prime Iker.
You're gonna what, Iker?
Prime Iker.
Prime Iker. Because
Imagine them all in
Navas
their
took over
prime
from
now.
Iker Casillas.
Huh?
Right? And rightly so.
They should be all in their prime right on this
Yeah.
question.
It's got to be Courtois, isn't it? No. What? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, I'm
No,
sorry. I'm
no.
overreaching again
Not
here.
at all.
I bet you guys, when we talk about goalkeepers, you must. Well, I know
Yeah.
you. Casey gets more.
Nah, I think, oh God, no.
You know when we were
Say
sitting
it
there going,
again.
you shouldn't be getting beaten at the near post. These two are probably going, what the hell? What the hell do those?
Like,
Right.
he was picking on a goalie for getting it through his legs from half an inch.
And he
Pretty sure.
stopped it actually.
Yeah, it's like,
and then the guy
oh,
had to come around and
Through his
score.
legs, oh boy, through his legs,
So
that
what's
goalie.
what's your three?
I'm gonna go Prime Iker, Courtois, Navas.
I think it's hard because if you're looking at like Real Madrid, Casillas is impossible to take out of that equation. Courtois is doing his best to try, but I think just the Spanish legend playing for the Spanish club is tough to beat. Navas, I felt, was moved out when he shouldn't have, simply
Agreed.
because he was Costa Rican and it was easy to do something. So I feel bad for Navas, but unfortunately, I'd have to stick with Xhaka with the lineup.
And that's a tough call. Navas was far better than I think people give him credit for.
Yep.
What the hell? Do
Oh, we could stay here talking about goalies all day long,
Yeah.
don't worry.
I am a quarter goalkeeper. I want
Oh,
to say
good.
that. To the panel, what were your dream cars
you
growing
couldn't
up?
catch a beach ball in a telephone box.
Do that. What were your dream cars growing up, and did you get it during your playing days?
My dream car growing up was a Porsche 959, and I needed to be a striker and not a goalkeeper to eventually put that into my garage. So, I was always a Porsche guy. I still have a Porsche. I enjoy it, but there's always that level of Porsche that you need to have been the
Yeah, we were wrong.
owner of the team as opposed to a player for the
We're
team.
wrong. We need to be a midfielder come sweeper.
That's true.
That's,
yeah.
you know,
I didn't have a dream car. I'm just a man of the people.
So you didn't have a Maserati?
I didn't have a Maserati. No, I refuse. Didn't have a Maserati.
my dream car was a Porsche. I'm in Casey's camp here, and no, I never owned it.
Well, you buy a second-hand one.
When you buy it for me, midfielder come sweeper.
No dream car?
Nah, not really. No, and I wasn't really that bothered. It was,
I mean,
it's just
can
material.
you imagine Craig in a Lamborghini with the flip-up doors?
Oh, like an old Countach,
Oh,
right?
boy,
Just with its jacket up, like maybe some Miami Vice style. I
Coming
can
out
see it,
and giving the
definitely.
Valley a super malky.
Yeah.
Material things.
Not bothered.
Material.
Does Xhaka know how much he's loved by us?
Oh,
Ah.
today's been
Good day.
a good day.
Nice.
It's been a good day.
It was a lovely message you put out,
Thank
helping
you.
others.
Yesterday was a really good day.
And it was great to see the response you got as well.
It was. It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well-
Thanks for that, Mitch. Big day
That
for
tells you
everyone
what kind of
tomorrow.
shape this show's in. When Nickel and Burley are the two in the best shape on the show, that's a problem. I mean, have you seen his diet?
I think it might be the Scottish diet.
You think that's it? It just kills everything?
I honestly think it's because he
Haggis,
has
yeah,
home.
let's be honest. If you have
That's the only
haggis,
thing keeping him alive.
if you eat haggis, you're all right. You
gotta be tough.
Yeah,
What was
you're
it?
good.
Yeah.
You're good.
What was it somebody said to him yesterday? Yours is just going to be a big one. Down he goes. That was Dan that said it. Oh, we're horrible people in here.
Oh my goodness.
Well, think about all that
Oh,
Touch wood, I hope it's. Think about all the cholesterol.
no, we're not
cholesterol.
going there. He's making it to 2030 at least. It's been well established on the show, okay?
Is that how low the bar is?
Well, he said it himself. He said he was still alive when we questioned him. Okay, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for sending in your question.
Actually, I'm not going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, please don't, please
no,
don't.
I don't know where it's going. See you tomorrow for the World Cup draw.